Hey everyone, I'm John Martin.
And I'm Dean Reverman.
Welcome to BlueStar Nation.
BlueStar Nation.
The podcast about the trends, the hot topics, the technology, tips to help VARs, MSPs, ISVs, anyone that sells specialty IT products. We're here to help you grow your business.
Same great taste.
Same great taste, new packaging. Because if you are a longtime listener that's dropped into your same feed and popped up on YouTube, you're like, wait a minute, what's this? I thought I was tuning into the Tech Connect podcast.
That's right.
Now we've changed it up a little bit. We'll explain why here in a little bit. But we decided we've rebranded. It's BlueStar Nation. But obviously, a lot of things haven't changed. Studio looks the same.
Yep.
You and I look the same.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Pretty much so.
Gained or lost a few pounds over the holidays. It's been a month and a half.
I got the winter layer going. Yes. Yes.
Got a new logo up back there. That might change a little bit too. Right, so we'll see. So we're back. And since, again, like this might be your first episode, welcome in if so. Mm-hmm. Yes. We've actually been doing this for almost 5 years.
Get out of town.
This podcast.
Are we coming up on our 5th?
Yeah. So we've got an extensive back catalog if you want to go back and check out some previous episodes and kind of get a feel for what we do. But if this is your first welcome in, today we're kind of just level setting a little bit. We're kind of bringing folks back in, let you know what's been going on, why we're making the change. We're going to review some stuff from 2024. You're going to talk a little bit about NRF.
That's right. Yep.
You were there a couple weeks back.
Yep.
And then we'll get into a little bit about what's coming up in the future, so you know what to expect.
There you go. Hey, we still got stuff to talk about. Yeah. We got a backlog of stuff to talk about.
We do. Indeed.
There you go.
So, oh crap! I don't have any kind of an opening for this, Steve. Remember on the old podcast, we always say it's time to plug in and get connected.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say now. I mean, I could still say that, I guess, even though we're not called Tech Connect anymore. But maybe that's a challenge for our listeners. If you've got a new idea for what you want me to say at the beginning to launch each podcast, or maybe I just come up with something different every time.
Ooh, that'd be a challenge, though.
It would be, actually. All right, well, then let's say for now, for one last time, it's time to plug in and get connected. All right, folks, let's get into it here.
Yes.
So let's talk about, first of all, why BlueStar Nation?
Yes.
Because, again, if you have been a long-time listener to the pod, or maybe if it is your first time, you're like, well, why'd you pick that name? Let's talk a little bit about that and what people can expect out of this. So, first of all, Tech Connect, that previous name.
Yes.
Was something we kind of went nuts and used it on a lot of stuff for a while.
We did.
Even though
did we overutilize the word and brand? Maybe, I don't know.
Even though the things didn't always necessarily connect to each other. And really, Tech Connect, as it stands now, our Tech Connect program is all about our software community.
That's right. Yeah.
It's about bringing software companies into this channel.
That's right.
Helping connecting with vendors and with VARs, building out this partner-assisted ecosystem that we're pretty big fans of here at BlueStar.
That's right.
We thought, but hey, this podcast is not just about ISVs and software. We do talk about that a lot. We do have great software guests that come on from time to time. But
that's not
we kind of encompass the broader scope of what's happening in this channel, the broader nation of the resellers and everything that they're dealing with the new trends, emerging technology, how to be good at sales, how to drive partnerships, how to figure out what's new and hot in technology. And BlueStar Nation, for a couple of years now, has been the name of our blog that we've built this kind of great network of, I know content's supposedly a dirty word these days, but I'm still going to say it anyway.
No, it's good stuff.
But good content that we're putting out there where we really made a concerted effort to be delivered, not just go out and just post any random piece that you feel like talking about. But really, this
is meaningful stuff.
We think about it. We spend time thinking about all right, it's stuff that we want people to learn about. It's things that really impact VARs, end user data. We're doing these big surveys where we're actually surveying people in retail and supply chain and healthcare and finding out what they think about technology and then handing that data over to you so you can go out and use that to figure out how to drive your own business too. So what do you think about the rebrand? Are we moving in the right direction?
No,
here?
absolutely. I mean, to your point, and the whole idea around this is education, if you ask me, right? So our goal is to educate those that are in our ecosystem and to put that under the wrapper of the BlueStar Nation. That is helpful. That helps kind of frame it out because, to your point, our goal here is to come up with meaningful content. I don't think it's a bad word. It is the kind of business intelligence that you're really not going to get from anywhere else. I challenge you to find a podcast that is as well produced and has the kind of content that we're going to dive into on a regular basis, all with a goal of really trying to help educate all of us in the ecosystem with a goal with kind of a hint towards growing business and things like that. So I think it's definitely appropriate and a good from a branding strategy. You know, if we put on my marketing hat, way better. It's way more aligned to exactly what the content is and how it fits into our overall umbrella of content.
Plus, it's never a bad idea to stick your name in the title too. You know,
that's a good resolution.
People know, like, hey, this is a BlueStar podcast. If you didn't know,
really good point.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I'll just mention that Blue Star Nation blog also. Again, I think that we've got the good stuff going on there. We're sales and marketing tips. We're doing deep dives into technology. It's all kind of interconnected.
Yep.
In fact, when you go to that page, you will find the podcast embedded there as well.
Yep.
And many times we're going to talk about some of the stuff that we share there. A lot of those end user surveys, and whenever we do those surveys, we are always going to make a point out of having an episode where we dig into that data. And ideally this year, something a little bit different. It's usually just been you and me. I want to try to actually bring a guest in to have those conversations too.
Yeah,
so that we can have them help us discern what they see in that data and what it means to them and what it means to a VAR, ISV, MSO, MSP, whatever, to go out there and win some business based off of what they've heard about from actual end customers. So good stuff. I like what we're doing here.
Yep, absolutely.
I like that branding.
No doubt.
All right, well, let's do a quick little look back at content from the last year. We actually just had a meeting this morning with our marketing team, and you let me actually ramble for a few minutes talking about some of the content that we have done over the last year. And I thought, hey, it might be beneficial to talk a little bit about some of that here too, so you can understand why we do what we do and what kind of trends that VARs like you are interested in, what you're paying attention to, what's going on with end users. So a quick little thing there. I think honestly the big thread that really stood out to me when I started compiling all that data was that emerging technology is very much top of mind.
Isn't that crazy?
And in particular,
I mean, we talk about it a lot, but this is quantifiable.
It really is.
Now, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Like we're doing it, we're putting out the content, and we're paying attention. Like, well, what's getting the most consumption? Which of these episodes of the podcast were people watching and listening to the most? What of our blogs were people reading the most? What webinars were people attending that we were putting out there? And overwhelmingly, the two that really stood out to me, RFID and AI. Which I think AI you kind of would expect because that's just
everybody's talking about
the hot topic right now.
Everybody's trying to figure out AI.
But if you're also or someone sitting there thinking like, is that starting to get stale? Have we gone too? Is it have we done too much with AI?
Are we hitting the hype curve?
Yeah,
it's like you're right.
Exactly. Now we got to figure out what to do with it, and no one really knows what to do with it. No, there is still very much a lot of interest in this because I feel like we've gone from the hype stage and the just the general overall buzz around the world, whether this industry or not, to the, all right, practical applications.
Yes, exactly.
Let's figure out how to take that, that great tool that we know is out there and turn it into something that's useful for businesses and for various industries and for the solutions that you guys are out there putting out in the world. And I think now we're finally reaching that point, and a lot of our partners are starting to think about that. And that's been showing up in what you guys are consuming. I think 3 of our top 10 episodes from last year had AI as a major focus of them.
Well, when you think about where AI is going, some people think downstream 3-4 years ago, the phrase AI agents, or 3-4 years from now, AI agent is going to be like the phrase. So it's all about developing these little agents that can do all these little tasks and leverage artificial intelligence, yes, LLMs, yes, a Gen AI, yes, all of that stuff, right? And develop. So it's fascinating. But to your point, now it's like, okay, the shock is over around, oh my God, look what Gen AI can do and LLMs and stuff like that. Now it's like, okay, well, now how are we going to apply this stuff? How are we going to actually start? Because if you don't, you're going to be behind the curve, kind of a thing. And so, there's still going to be a lot more to talk about, but we're going to get a little bit more under the covers, into the weeds.
I think also the RFID side of things, you and I made our stakes, our claim last year that it was the year of RFID.
Yes, we renewed it though on the 2 podcasts ago. We renewed that.
Well, because we had our guest Ray from EXO came on and said that he thought it was the arrival year of RFID.
Arrival year.
And I think what we're talking about is I feel like at this point, we've reached a point where RFID is inundated enough into the industry that people are more comfortable with it. It's not just I'm not sure about this. Or I think now it's become something where everyone feels like they need to figure out how this fits into their portfolio, if this is going to be a part of your business strategy moving forward. And again, the content we put out last year bore that out. Another 3 of our top 10 podcasts had an RFID focus. Some of our top webinars last year were about RFID. Anytime that RFID came up, that was stuff that our VAR audience and our vendor partners all were paying attention to and commenting on and consuming and saying, yeah, I'm interested in this. I want to know more about it. I think what was really interesting is, our top webinar from last year was one that was all about the how-to.
That's what you were talking
RFID.
about.
Like
how
just
to
basically,
set up.
not even just talking about it as a nebulous concept. We're not even talking about the potential, but like, hey, you want to buy an RFID printer or you want to sell an RFID printer.
Here's how to.
Your customer says they want to get into RFID. Here's how to figure out the right printer. Here's how to get that printer set up and properly running for them. That's the kind of stuff that clearly seems that you folks are interested in. And and the reason why we talk about this and we're saying this is because that's going to be a lot of our focus this year on this podcast is to try to keep on top of those conversations and find out what it is that you guys are interested in, what you're hearing about in the market, what is of interest to you, what's driving your attention and narrative and helping you move your business forward. And we're going to keep kind of diving into that as well. Any other thoughts on our overall prior content and what stood out to you?
Oh, well, I mean, I'm proud of the amount of content that we put out there. I mean, when you think about the volume of content, I got a couple stats for you, not just what you were talking about, but well, let's dive into those end user surveys real quick. We were able to go out and touch 354 end users to the benefit of this ecosystem, and we're querying them on what it is, what are their pain points, what are some of their aspirations for technology. I mean, I can't remember the total amount of surveys that we did. Do you remember the total? Was it 7, 8? Something like that?
Maybe a little fewer than that because
6.
Because we usually try to get like 100 to 125 people on all these surveys. So.
Yep. So anyway, I think that it's good. They were reaching out to get that information because, again, I don't know that there's a good viable resource that you wouldn't have to pay literally thousands of dollars from a research company to get that information. If you're a SMB reseller, even a large reseller, how are you going to get that information? So I think it's great, and I think it's meaningful, and hopefully our customers see the value of that. On the content side in 2024, we continue to lean into video. So I just wanted to bring up the fact that we've got a YouTube channel. A lot of you folks are watching this on YouTube. That's cool. If you're listening to the audio only, go over to our YouTube because we post a lot of stuff there.
And not just to look at us. I mean, there's not much to see.
No. Please don't do that.
Check out the cool graphics and stuff. I mean, and the cool studio. But you don't need to worry about us. You can blur us if you want.
But we post stuff like unboxed videos. These are really cool. We did 27 unboxed videos last year. And again, these are all around, new product launches. Yes, we physically unbox them, which is still a cool thing to do. But we talk about
simple, and yet people love it. They eat it up.
They love them. They love them. It's tens of thousands of impressions that we're getting on that stuff. So anyway, go over to there because as a part of the nation, again, we lean into video production, and I think we do a service to the industry in providing that. And I think there's just some good stuff in there. So anyway, the surveys, you already touched on the webinars. I wanted to throw video on the table too.
I'll quickly back up on the surveys there real quick too and mention the fact that we're doing these end user surveys, and we're very deliberate about what we ask about and about asking questions that helps us create content that genuinely benefits our customers. So even though these surveys are often sponsored by some of our vendor partners, we're very specific about saying like, hey, we want your input, and we definitely give them input on what direction we should go with them. But at the end of the day, we're very deliberately thinking about, all right, what are questions that VARs and ISVs, our customers that are actually working in these industries, what's the kind of stuff they would want to know about to help them understand how to approach these particular industries and these business leaders and figure out how to sell technology to them.
That's right.
And then the articles that we write are also built around that too. Like we always end them with a list of suggestions of like, hey, here's what we think that VARs should be doing with the data that's been presented here. Here's how you should be approaching retail, hospitality, healthcare in the future. And I'll also say again, we had a pretty decent amount of these surveys last year. We're going to have even more this year. Right now, as we are speaking here in mid to late January, we have 4 surveys that are already in the works. So over the next few months or so, you're going to see 4 brand new big end user surveys on topics like healthcare. There's 2 of them coming in for healthcare. One of them that will kind of lean into the idea of robots being a part of healthcare, and the other being a survey just about mobility and products and healthcare. And then we've got stuff with education, digital signage and education, and we've got one, what's the other? Oh, retail payments. So some really good stuff that's coming down the line. If you aren't already checking out BlueStar Nation, you can go to it's nation.bluestarinc.com. is where you can find that site. There's always a link in the show notes too. Or again, we're interconnected, so there's always going to be a link there.
Well,
so
I'm
check that
surprised.
stuff
I'm
out.
surprised you didn't ask me what my number one piece of content was in 2024.
What was your favorite piece of content?
I challenge you. Now you got to figure one out real quick. But to your point, not only do we do surveys on BlueStar Nation, but we also write articles. And to me, what I love about them is they're somewhat snackable. I'll use a Cordy word. They're in the 5 to 7 minute read categories, right? But it's really good information to hit, the highlights and some of those things. So the story I love the most, the robots are coming, how VARs can capitalize on the robotics revolution. James Wilson, I thought, on our team did a fantastic job with this particular piece. It's a short read. It's 6 minutes, but it's the kind of thing like if you're a reseller sitting back or a solution integrator saying, okay, I hear about robotics. What gives? What's going on here?
Right.
This article will give you the complete rundown of just the major topics, things that you should be thinking about. And to your point, you stole my thunder. At the end, it says, what is in it for a VAR? How should you go about doing that? This is. I mean, where else are you going to get this kind of content? So we're kind of queuing up, what the opportunity is, and then how we see that you can embrace the robotics frontier in this particular article. So good stuff. Anyway, it was one of my favorite pieces.
I like it.
It's good stuff.
I can't pick a favorite.
I know.
Myself.
Yeah, it's not fair
to
me to
picking
ask
a favorite
you.
child.
Exactly. You can't do that. But anyway, it's.
I'll just go on the safe side and say the Star Wars episode. So.
Of course.
Just because anytime I get to ramble about nerdy stuff, that's going to be exciting for me. Well, let's look ahead to this year, Dean. Because we did kind of stake our claim a little bit around RFID last year, what do you think are going to be some of the big hot topics this year? What kind of stuff do you think? Are we just going to continue down the RFID, AI, emerging tech path? Do you think there's anything that's going to maybe start popping off a little more this year? And maybe we'll revisit these predictions at there's some podcasts I listen to that will make like pop culture predictions for the coming year.
Ooh.
And then the next year when they go to make their new ones, they'll listen to the previous year and see if they got it right or not. So what's some of your predictions about maybe what's going to really stand out this
I don't
year?
have a good crystal ball. My crystal ball is always foggy as it relates to it. But I'll weave in some of what I saw at NRF, if you don't mind, because I think that is a good telltale. Now, spoiler alert already, we've pretty much talked about some of the major things. Dude, as I was walking around, RFID was everywhere.
All right.
So manufacturers are coming out with it. It seems like everybody is getting into the RFID game. Let me take a step back. NRF was a little bit ho-hum in the sense that a lot of people were showing a lot of the same stuff from last year.
Gotcha.
So it was kind of difficult to see there wasn't any one thing that was like, oh my gosh, that's really popping,
right?
Or whatever. It seemed a lot of the same. I'll get a little nuance on that here in just a second. But RFID, everyone was showing. Anyone who could show an RFID solution was showing an RFID solution, from a sled, from a mobility device to tags to back-end software that integrates into it. RFID, it is no surprise to me that was our number one webinar. It for us as a business, we're starting to see a little bit of a hockey stick on sales out. So people are consuming it, and if you're a reseller that is even kind of close to this, maybe your core is not, but RFID is an adjacent technology. Man, you gotta learn about it.
At least start grabbing some partners that can go out there and help you.
100%. So to your point, I think we'll lean in and at least have a few episodes that kind of dive into RFID. AI, of course, was around, but the AI that I saw, and I think some of the trend that's going to be happening in 2025 is machine vision. Machine vision is here now, right? So now it's, to your point, AI is this buzz. How do we apply it? Machine vision. That is one of the areas that I think that you're really going to start seeing a lot of applications. And of course it's front of house. So you're seeing a lot of object recognition as it relates to point of sale, things of that nature. You're starting to see it, the reality of not just I'll call it the Amazon store with, they had all the cameras, but it was really people in India. Have you heard that story? Real applications now of actually, that are meaningful, that are now integrated into software and a little bit easier to implement. And even back of house stuff, helping with the logistics and kind of moving and to a more sophisticated supply chain. So, I mean, we talked about ad nauseum about documenting inventory, how important that is. If you're going to be a retail establishment, playing and competing against the Amazons and the Walmarts and stuff like that, you have to have visibility into your inventory. And so there are cool companies out there. There's a company called, for example, Purple Dot. They integrate, machine vision and and they help folks with inventory counting. But they're starting to get, and what's really fascinating is that now it's not just visibility about the inventory you have, but pre-orders. So now it's like, so let's say you and I were going to launch, well, here we go, BlueStar Nation. We're going to have a new T-shirt that comes out, right? Well, people could pre-order that. In theory. Nice. So now there's integration that's happening in supply chain, not just at what exists today, but pre-ordering. And so now there's companies that are getting involved in that game. Oh, okay, suppliers. And it's helping them with their just-in-time inventory and stuff like that. So, and it's integrated into e-commerce. And again, that all gets integrated into this visibility of inventory. So anyway, going back to machine vision, you're just going to see, I think you're going to see more applications of that being used as an augmentation to, yes, barcoding, yes, RFID, yes, now machine vision to verify a lot of what's going on. So that's going to be a big topic.
Good stuff. Yeah, good stuff. I think it's important that you're right, that we're getting to that point when it comes to some of these emerging tech that I feel like people are really starting to think about the practical applications. Yeah. Because I think in the past, a couple years or so, as AI, machine vision, a lot of that stuff started taking off, it did feel like sometimes you'd see, it's kind of like when you check out innovations from like the CES show, which we had one happen recently. I'm sure I'll do a dive in on that at some point. I haven't had a chance to look at all the interesting new tech from that. But a lot of times you'll see a lot of technology. And we always comment about this, always happens with the cars. There'll always be some kind of concept car they roll out of these things that never, ever will ever become reality. It's just, it's a wacky idea. Like, I don't know, like the ones with the paint job that just randomly can change with the press of a button. Yeah, right. I don't know if that's ever going to actually become a practical real thing, but it's gimmicky, cool to see,
it's gimmicky, right?
And I feel like there was a lot of solutions that kind of seemed like they were popping, again, quote, heavy quote solutions that were popping up where it felt a little pie in the sky, a little like you're shooting for something that looks cool, but probably isn't practical and probably is not going to actually end up happening. Yeah. But it's on the pathway to something that is a little bit more legitimate. Yep. I feel like we've kind of crested that a bit and moved it more into here's some legitimate ways we can actually do something with some of this technology.
I think we're getting
something that will show up at a store near you in the future, at a restaurant near you in the future.
Yeah. So going back to the store, another technology that I thought had a little bit of a run this year is ESL, or electronic shelf labels. Oh, nice. Man, dude, they were in a lot of places. We met with quite a few manufacturers out there. It's interesting because I think that it's got some challenges from, I think there's going to be some legal challenges to this because surge pricing, not such a cool thing in some areas. But clearly, I think the trend is, because you're going to see Walmart's already rolling it out. Kroger's is going to start rolling it out. Once it hits that smaller grocery stores, and I can see this getting into the retail space, there's a lot of advantages to having these little shelf labels and these little tags. And if just to kind of visualize it, they look like the size of a business card, right? And you just attach them to the shelf label, and now you can change the price instantaneously within seconds.
And someone doesn't have to run around with a little labeler and slap new stickers on everything. Yeah. Or go piece by piece and take that little plastic thing and pull the card out and slide a new one in. Yeah.
Yep. So it's this electronic ink, these little ESLs, and it's now they're connected to larger systems, and it's getting down to the point where the cost is pretty. It's not expensive to put these in anymore. And then now it comes down to an integration game. Like, how do you integrate it into their existing inventory / point of sale system? So I think ESL is going to get a little bit of a run here over the next couple years. Something you should consider, because we are definitely considering it. We're going to be onboarding a couple manufacturers on that front. Cool stuff. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about robotics. Robots were around, but again, and we happen to be.
Did you bump into one or have one run over your foot at all?
Yeah, because we had a little booth there just as a way that we could enter. We could have people in meetings and stuff like that. We weren't really showing anything, but we were very close to this Fry Daddy one that they had a pretty big footprint, but it's the robotic arm that's doing the fries and stuff like that. There were a significant amount of robots around there, but I think it's getting a lot more practical now. Like, okay, yes, we've all seen the robot running around, but now we got to start making the ROI and stuff like that. So the automation was around. for sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So,
Any other thoughts from NRF? before we wrap up?
no. What about your targets for 2025? What are you thinking? What do you think's going to take off? What's your crystal ball looks like, bro?
I'm not good at the crystal ball stuff either sometimes, but I mean, again, I do think RFID is going to continue growing.
Yeah.
I think more and more people. It's funny. We had one of our exec summits that you and I go to, and I was doing one of those.
Yep.
Our customer advisory sessions.
Yeah,
where we just kind of try to find out from our customers, like, what do you need? What's going on? What's on top of your mind? Mm-hmm. And I remember at some point I asked. There was a group of them. How many of you agree that this is the year of RFID? I said, we've staked our claim. What do you guys think? And there was like one person that raised their hand, and they were from an RFID company. I'm like, well, I have a feeling that maybe by the end of this year, more people would be willing to raise their hand about that, or at least feel like they're more comfortable with that. I think there's growth there. I'll just go back again. I think some of the AI stuff, I think we're going to start finally seeing some more real practical applications. I would suspect there might be one or two like major, huge innovations that will roll out. I don't know what kind of industry necessarily. I mean, it's probably like retail maybe would be the most likely space for it, or even hospitality, of something AI that will maybe really change the game a little bit and really get people thinking in a different way. I don't think, I think the explosion of the generative AI that happened a couple of years ago now is kind of a unicorn thing in our lifetimes. We may never see something that on that scale again. Yeah, right. But I think there's going to be some little stuff that maybe pops off from that that might start happening.
Sure.
And I feel like there's something could be coming. Again, I'm not going to put any particular stats around this or a specific claim, but I feel like there might be something happening there. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Other new things in 2025, though, I did want to touch on this, going back to BlueStar Nation. We have some sub podcasts, if you will, right? You already mentioned the ISV on tap.
I haven't yet, actually. We're going to dive into that now. Let's talk about what's happening. We're going to try a little segment out sometimes in episodes here and there around BlueStar Nation, where we just share like what's happening in our world that we think you guys should know about, other stuff maybe you should be checking out from us, or where we're going to be and things we got going on. So yes, we have a new video series called ISVs on Tap, video series / podcast. And it's pretty simple in explanation, which is basically like, hey, we have all these great software partners that we work with, and we want to give them a platform to introduce them a little bit better to you.
Yep, that's right.
So Josh Kelly, our ISV BDM, he has been going out there and just bringing some folks, having some conversations about, hey, who are you? What do you do? What industries do you play in? And how do you want to go to market and work with VARs?
Yeah.
How are you trying to get into this channel and work with resellers to help them grow their business, to bring in new types of solutions, to help enable the solutions that the hardware they're already selling, and bring new stuff out there. So like, initially we've got some folks like InThing, Face Me from Cyberlink,
Ask Alice, which is a nice niche-y little one.
Yeah, we've got some really cool little ones that are coming out there. Where, again, it's just a quick, they're like 15, 20-minute episodes.
That's what I like about them. I'm
they're
going to use the word snackable again.
Yes,
absolutely. I mean, it's a quick listen, but you get all the main points. I think Josh does a great job of that. And you can learn a little bit about some beer.
Yes.
Because that's the whole on tap.
So I'm pretty sure Josh came up with this idea just because he wanted to find a reason to be able to drink on the job and get it paid for and accepted. But yes, at the end of every episode, him and his guest will share a beverage of choice and talk briefly about that as well. It's fun. I think
the complex nature of the taste.
A beer. I think when Bish from InThing did hers, she did some tea at the time. So
that's fair.
So, not everybody drinks beer. I get it. So
I'm good with that.
So check that out. Go to our YouTube page. There's already a playlist. We got 4 episodes that have already been released there. If you follow Josh on LinkedIn, Josh Kelly, he's got some other stuff. He did some kind of preview episodes that he's posted there as well. We're gonna try to drop a batch of 3, 4, 5 of these every month at least. So I definitely recommend checking these out. It's just a nice way to learn about some ISVs out there. And hey, if you know some ISVs that we're either ones we're already working with or should be, and you think they should be spotlighted, let us know about that. We'd love to hear from you. So for that matter, also, hey, again, newly rebranded podcast. We want folks to start liking the show. We want you to subscribe. If this is your first time, this is a great opportunity for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to whatever podcast platform you're on to learn more about the show, and tell others about it. Please tell some folks about it. Hey, I just checked out this great new show. I think you would enjoy it. Check it out. Recommend it. Leave us reviews if you can. We'd love to get some reviews from you. I'd love to read some of those reviews on air from time to time. Also, send your ideas to us again about what you want to hear about on this show, maybe what you'd want to see on that ISVs on Tap, surveys you'd like for us to do of end users. We need to hear from you about that stuff. So you can find us online. First of all, we're always posting stuff on BlueStar's LinkedIn page. You're going to see, hopefully, us give a little bit more of a presence around the social media sphere this year, but YouTube and BlueStar, the BlueStar LinkedIn page is where you can find the most stuff about us.
Yep.
And of course, you can also email us now. We got a brand new email address for the relaunch of the show, nation@bluestarinc.com. But hey, if you go back to the old Tech Connect email, you can send it there too, and it'll still filter us somehow as well. So nation@bluestarinc.com. All right, Dean, I want to also call out Elo because they've been a regular sponsor of our show for a long time now. Yes. We very much appreciate their support of the Tech Connect podcast and now the BlueStar Nation podcast. So this episode is brought to you by Elo. They are offering an instant rebate right now on select 70 series monitors, but it's for a limited time.
Oh, gotta hurry.
But it's a good way if you want to put some more money back in your pocket or maybe give your customers a little extra discount.
Let's make it happen.
They can make it happen. So stick around at the end of the episode. We'll tell you a little bit more about that program. All right, we're going to wrap things up as always.
Yes.
Typically we do a little VAR value where we talk about whatever the discussion we had today. It's how it pertains to our VARs, what we think you should take away. But because we mostly have just been rambling about
that's
us
what we talk about. Yeah, right.
We kind of did that already.
Join the nation. We'll
skip that. But instead, we are going to get into our recurring segment, which in the past was called What's Tech Connecting with You.
Oh.
But because that was clunky and we changed the name, now it's What's on Your Radar.
Nice.
So this is where we just talk about something in the world of science, technology, business, innovation.
Or not.
It could be anything. Whatever.
Mine's kind of random.
It's basically Dean and I just use this time to just ramble about something that we feel like sharing with each other. And
or an article that we read.
And you can always go to the show notes and find links to this stuff. So Dean, what's on your radar this week?
I have a personal question to ask you.
Okay, let's hear it.
How often do you wash your towels at home?
Weekly.
Weekly. There you go. Yes. Okay. So
mind you, I don't reuse them.
What?
I'm a
wait, what?
I'm a one-use only household for towels.
Well, whoa.
So we have enough towels to get us through a week before we wash them.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
So you use a different one every day?
Not like hand towels, but like the body towel.
Yeah, the body. I'm talking a bath towel. Yeah.
You use it once, it goes in the hamper.
Oh, I did. Wow. Okay, you are way off in your own segment then. This survey doesn't have. You are absolutely an aberration. Most people, I guess I'll call myself average, use a towel once a week and wash it once a week.
Okay.
It
just makes me feel gross hearing that. Again, maybe this is just my wife's on board with this too, so maybe this is just a Martin family thing. We're going to have
to come back to. Let me get through this because we're going to have to come back to this and really kind of dive into your psyche real quick. 100 people in the UK. Oh, this is really going to bug you. A third of them only wash it once a month.
Holy crap!
And according to the survey, there were a handful that admitted to doing it once a year.
Oh my God!
Have I completely grossed you out?
Have you all ever heard of fungus?
It gets worse because some of it is cultural. So so this was a worldwide study as well. In Japan, some households, did you know this, reuse leftover bath water for laundering the next day in their towels.
Okay.
Now this article goes into how you really don't want to do that because now it's going to totally go in your direction. Bacteria found in the bath water and stuff like that. Yeah. Then the article gets into...
What's the point of the bath at that point?
Well, okay. So I'm going to get out of Japan, going back to just normal folks. Where you have your towel matters. A lot of towels are placed somewhat in close proximity to the toilet. So every time you flush, there may be some... Yes,
you
exactly.
You may not see it, but it's all sprayed up there.
This just feeds right into
It really does.
And then when you're washing your towels, by the way, do not cheat on the don't go cold cycle. You gotta have some heat in there. Towels require at least 104.
Almost everything else you can wash cold and you're fine.
But not
towels is something you need to do hot.
You
got to kill that bacteria.
You need to splurge on the hot water.
Yep.
You got to get the bacteria out of there. At least 104 to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. So there you go. I just thought I would kick it off by saying, wow, towels are really important. Now, I challenge anyone to think of who else uses. So you wash 7 towels a week and you're using 1 towel a day.
If you think 14 between your wife.
That's fair.
Now, I will say our
Miles
son
doesn't get a towel?
He does. His we don't do daily. His is more like a weekly, I think, for his probably. But
okay.
I don't know. It's just something my wife and I have started doing. It's been a while back.
Well, now I think I'm going to join you because of this article and on all the bacteria
I just think of it as like that and like, and just a damp item that I know you're by the time you use it the next day, it's dry. But it's also just
heavy air quotes
hung there damp, and you're right. What other stuff are you doing in the bathroom? What other stuff could get? I don't know. This has been a bugaboo.
So you've never experienced a towel like you wipe yourself off and it's like, oh man, this towel's got a little funk to it.
No, exactly. That's a problem.
You defeated the whole purpose of taking the shower in your view. Yes, right?
Yes.
Here you get clean.
Yeah,
and you're just using this dirty towel.
And granted,
I'm just going to smear bacteria all over
the logic
me
for
again.
some folks is, well, when I'm cleaning off after the shower, I'm clean, right? It's clean water.
Right.
I'm just toweling off, right?
Exactly. Right. No.
Okay. Maybe to some extent, but also maybe not.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Anyway, so
right.
I thought you'd enjoy that. What's on your radar?
All right, I got a couple things because I've been stockpiling them in the month plus that we've been off and haven't been doing the show. So I got a couple things to talk about. Do you have a second one at all? Or you
No,
want to do
no, I'm good.
All right, I'll do quickly mine here then. So first of all, something that should surprise absolutely nobody.
Mm-hmm.
We have got some not definitive, but almost definitive proof that our phones and devices are actually spying on us.
Oh,
because Apple had to just pay a $95 million settlement about Siri listening to private conversations. Now, of course, it's a settlement, so they are not officially, admitting.
We're not admitting to
any fault or any liability.
But we're going to pay $100 million to make this go away.
But they're suggesting yes, well, fine. And it was a class action lawsuit that said that Siri was inadvertently recording and listening to conversations, and that data was being sent to third party contractors who then could also hear what was being said.
All right, now I got an issue because the reality is, I get it. I assume my phone is listening because how else can I say a magic phrase that I'm not going to say right now because my phone's in my hand.
Our phones will all light up. Yeah, exactly.
And not have it immediately light up and say yes.
Right. It has to be listening.
Right. So I'm good with that. But where you just went, not so good with.
Apple has always claimed that they do not save the conversations and they do not sell the conversations for any marketing purposes.
Yeah, but if they're handing it off to third parties.
Obviously, we all have enough. We've all had those experiences of I was talking about something and next thing you know, there was an ad on my Facebook feed or I got an email or something else.
Isn't that strange?
Or for some reason I logged into Amazon and there was the product I was talking about front and center recommended to me. It's happening. We've all known it was happening.
I think we should have a deep conversation on, I don't know, voodoo dolls or something like that and see if those start popping up in our feed. No, we've all had that experience. That weird. Okay.
Exactly.
So they admitted it but didn't admit it. They didn't admit it, but they kind of did.
Right. And here's the thing also. Now, the caveat there also is that supposedly what was happening is that the conversations were occasionally being listened to outside of using that phrase, that prompt that's supposed to activate Siri on your phone. So the suggestion was that sometimes it was happening. And I don't know about you, but there are plenty of times I've been in a conversation and Siri randomly does pop up and go, and I didn't say it. I just said anything. Something that sort of maybe could have been construed as sounding like it, but probably didn't.
Right.
So in that case, again, it's still doing that, and they were sending that data off that was being shared with third-party contractors. So again, not an admittance of guilt, but we all know what's going on. Now, the interesting part of this story that I also read was that $95 million represents 9 hours of Apple's profit.
Wait a minute.
Think they're going to be okay.
Oh, wait. Did you just say 9 hours in a year?
9 hours
just ridiculous.
Is all it takes for them to make the $95 million they had to shell off.
This was not even a slap on the wrist.
Yeah, this didn't do anything to them.
Did they even know? No, I mean,
maybe there was like one day that their employees couldn't play ping pong in the office or something.
Who's the head of Apple again? I forget.
Tim Cook.
Tim Cook, does he even know? He doesn't even know. What?
It's like having a mosquito bite you.
Wow.
You know? You're just like,
right.
What was that?
What was that?
Whatever.
Yeah.
So
that's a great story. Thanks.
If you wanted some proof that this is happening, I think we pretty much got that proof. That basically affirmation of something we all basically knew.
Yeah.
But but we've been told by the tech companies for years. No, you guys are crazy. It's not happening.
Yeah.
Hey, what do we do with that third party data?
Marco, do you have any apps that like shut all that down? We need to investigate. Cracking into Apple and like. I don't know.
But the thing is, like, I think we don't like it, but we all should be just expected to live with it at this point. It's just,
I was
just
comfortable with the fact that
at times.
Apple has it because I just assumed that was to a certain degree going on. Maybe,
right, exactly.
A few seconds in the future and whatever, it has that because it has to, right? I get it, but you start.
Well, like one of the instances that was thrown out there by one of the people involved in the class action suit is they said they were at a surgical consult with their doctor, and the next day, or I think that same day, started getting ads showing up in their feeds about surgery centers that they could use or medicine to treat that particular condition. It was something that they literally had just had
highly private.
The first time they'd had that conversation with a doctor and talked about that, and all of a sudden they're getting ads directed to them related to that. That's the point where you got to go, how can this not be happening at that point?
We need some common sense. That's right.
So,
that's right.
So the other thing that's on my radar this week is so video games. I've been talking about video games off and on.
You're a gamer, yes.
I got my son into gaming, which has allowed me to get back into gaming. And so I read an interesting article, though, that was all about how video games, in particular open world games, actually are very good for mental health.
Yes.
So there's been a bunch of studies done about this, and in particular games like, and they called out in particular Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is one of my favorite games that I've played recently.
All right.
It's got this big open world, like, you go to the land of Hyrule and all of the other lands around it. You can explore in any direction you want to go. There is a narrative story that you can follow along a path and get to certain places, but you can go a lot of different directions to make that story complete. And there's a lot of different places you can just go and visit, So if you feel like, hey, I'm just going to spend the day wandering through a forest and finding out what I can find and fighting some monsters, you can do that.
Okay.
Well, apparently those kind of games, the technical term or the psychological term they define it as cognitive escapism, which is basically how psychologists define things that help us intentionally escape from day-to-day life and our problems and thinking about the things that we usually have to think about in order to get through a day.
In the olden days, maybe you'd walk down to a stream and sit there and watch the water go by and the little fishies and stuff like that. You're saying
now,
in the modern
I
era,
can have Zelda walk to a stream.
There you go.
And see a bunch of fishies, and then a Zora jumps out of the water and has a conversation with
it's
me.
interesting, and I know nothing about psychology. I'm not going to profess anything like that. But I enjoy non-activity to kind of like have a pause moment, right?
Right.
And but so you're saying that at least the study. So to me, gaming, you're still engaged, right? So
to some extent,
what was it called again?
It's
Cognitive
the cognitive escapism.
Escapism. So
and again, they particularly are singling out the open world games because you can play like first person shooters, but that's where you're actively running around trying to shoot enemies or shoot other people that you're playing against online, or like action games where there's a lot of again, stuff happening. In these open world games, while there is moments of action that can happen in them, you could spend an entire gaming session just walking around if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Or just exploring and checking out new things. I'll give you another example. So my wife gave me permission to get a PlayStation 5 as a Christmas gift for myself, essentially, this year.
I'm coming over.
And I love it. And my son loves it too. But my favorite game so far to play, and I've already finished it because I just enjoyed it that much, was Spider-Man. So there was a new Marvel Spider-Man game that came out 2017, 18, I think, or whatever. It was originally for the PlayStation 4, but they've upgraded to the 5. And essentially, you just play Spidey, and there's a big story that you can go through. But also a big part of the game is you just literally can just wander through New York City. You can spend hours
as Spidey
just swinging through, and which the mechanics for all that is amazing and so much fun. And they built out a whole layered New York City that is, as probably as big, within the context of the game as New York City, and you can go visit all of the popular locations. You can visit certain neighborhoods. You can take on little side quests. Like there's a side quest where you're helping a guy who keeps pigeons, track down some pigeons that he lost, and bring them back to him. All kinds of fun. Of course, along the way you find criminals and can beat them up, or you can get on the bigger narrative and go after the big Spider-Man bad guys. But again, it's the kind of thing where you can just spend a lot of time just kind of free roaming around New York City and exploring and just checking things out.
Cognitively escaping. Yes.
Exactly.
Cognitively
and it did. It became a thing for me every evening.
I'll be done.
After the days, work was done. After dinner, sent the kid off to to go get his shower, and I would just sit down and just escape into Spider-Man.
Well,
for
there
a
you
couple
go.
Hours.
Some of us go and sit by a creek, and you.
It's too cold to sit by a creek right now, Dean. It's freezing across half the country right now.
That's a fair point.
So there you go. So next time someone says, "When are you don't want to sit around playing video games?" Say, "I'm cognitively escaping."
Yes.
All right, that's what's on our radar this week. We are looking forward to digging into more awesome, fun topics and guests here on BlueStar Nation.
Yes, sir.
Coming up, we have topics like networking and multi-carrier solutions, something I wasn't really super aware of.
Oh, no.
I'm excited to talk about this.
We got a great
cool new partner that we're working with about this.
For sure.
We're going to get into the human element of automation. We're going to have an episode about the shifting power dynamics in retail. That's just the stuff that we already have planned out coming up soon. So as always, please subscribe. Hold on to those subscriptions. If you're already part of the Tech Connect podcast, you're not missing anything. It's still going to be the same good fun that we're having here on the show.
That's right.
And again, please let us know what you want to hear about on the pod. So until next time, stay joined here in the nation with us.